Volunteering is a great way to build employment skills. Volunteer now by contacting your community volunteer coordinator.
Serving those who serve, this is AFN.
From our studios in Frankfurt, Germany, this is the AFN Evening News.
Good evening. Warrant Officer Michael Durant, the helicopter pilot who was shot down and held hostage in Somalia for 11 days, will be on crutches sometime in the next 2 weeks and could be flying again in a year. That's the word from doctors at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, where Durant is receiving treatment for his injuries. We have 2 reports on Durant's journey from Mogadishu to Fort Campbell, which included a stop at Ramstein Air Base, Germany, and Landstuhl Army Hospital. Airmen Bettina Kluver and Linda Frost were at both locations, and they have our reports.
Chief Warrant Officer Michael Durant arrived at Ramstein Air Base in a drizzling rain aboard a C-141 Starlifter, accompanied by an Air Force medical crew. About 200 people, military and civilian, were on hand as Durant was taken off the airplane on a stretcher. Durant, obviously elated by the greeting as he was taken to the waiting ambulance, waved his red beret and gave the cheering crowd an enthusiastic thumbs up. The crew that accompanied Durant on the trip to Ramstein from Somalia said it was evident to them how the helicopter pilot felt to be back in American hands.
When we took off out of Mogadishu, as soon as the wheels came up, his arm went up and he gave us a thumbs up and he grinned from ear to ear. I said, "That's right, you're out of Mogadishu now." So he was really happy.
His condition, he was very elated. There were some of his members from his squadron were there to wish him well. They cheered, they clapped, and his spirits were good. And he was happy to get on the plane, and when the wheels went up, when we took off, and he just raised his hand and made a fist, and he was so happy.
As he was being loaded aboard the military ambulance for the short trip to Landstuhl Army Medical Center, one of 2 requests was waiting for Durant, a big pizza with lots of cheese. Durant's second request had been waiting all day at Landstuhl, his wife, who had been flown to Germany earlier from the family home in Kentucky. Senior Airman Bettina Kluver, Air Force News, Ramstein Air Base, Germany.
Most of the people here described him as a true American hero. Chief Warrant Officer 3 Durant waved his airborne beret as he was quickly but carefully taken inside the hospital. The crowds cheered on to welcome him back to freedom.
Whatever he went through is terrible, and just showing him our support is what's important, regardless of what the whole situation is. Just supporting our soldiers and what they're doing is very important, I believe.
This guy in mine is a true American hero. Right? He put his life on the line for the American people, Somalian people. He did a good job. He deserves a good welcome.
I think the support would be good for him and show him that we, the American people, support the mission in Somalia and what he was doing, and he was doing the right thing in whatever he did, and we're out here to support him.
Staff Sergeant John Hastings of the 236 Medical Company waited nervously. He had served with Durant in 1985 when they were stationed together in Korea. At that time, Durant was a pilot for a helicopter company, and Hastings was his medic.
When I opened up the newspaper, I felt sick. I felt like somebody had hit me in the stomach. To see somebody that you know in a situation like that, of course, you know, with no preparation, is pretty devastating.
The rousing welcome and departure was symbolic of the true American spirit in Europe.
It's really great that we could pass CW3 Durant through here, get him stabilized and on his way back to Fort Campbell. I think it was really a morale booster, and I think the feeling expressed by the people that came out to greet him and to say goodbye to him just really shows what Europe and the people in Europe is all about.
As the Black Hawk helicopter pilot departed Landstuhl Saturday morning, he looked tired and weak. His wife, Lori, stayed near his side. At Ramstein, he gave a farewell wave and a thumbs up to a small crowd that gathered on the flight line to see him off. The Durants declined all interviews until after their return to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. At Ramstein Air Base, Germany, Linda Frost, AFN News.
Exercise Dynamic Guard brought